Hey everybody, welcome to the Dating Show. I'm Fop.
And I'm Tanya.
And we have got a show for you. Now, many of you watching the show, and you watch it live, you think,
Yeah.
are they really live? Do they
We're here.
really do this show like right now, like we say we're doing live? Well, you're going to find out tonight because we've got some guests that are joining us via Skype, and they're literally going to join us in the middle of this first segment. And so you're going to see that this is as live as you get, raw. This is web broadcasting at its finest. And but before they come in, and they could come in any minute, but before they do that, we have a quick announcement. Valentine's Day is coming up, and of course, Valentine's Day is, it's kind of celebrated as that time. Oh, there's our guests.
Yay.
There they are.
Hey guys.
What's up?
Hi.
How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
Fabulous.
Good. Well, we don't want to bore the audience with all the details of the Sanborn Marathon to get you on the show tonight, but maybe on a different episode we can do that. First of all, introduce you, my audience. This is Craig and Molly Sanborn joining us via Skype, and you may recognize Molly if you're a fan of Wipeout, because just recently she was on Wipeout, and she's also known as the Cheeseball Chick. You might
That's right.
recognize Craig from a former episode that we did on the clinic on media. And so, guys, welcome to the dating show.
Yes, so excited to have you.
Thank you. We are super excited to be here, and it's good to see you guys again. And we're pumped, man. We've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Well, when we started the dating show, first of all, Tanya tried to talk me out of asking her to be in the dating show.
For a year.
But as we started looking at it, she said, well, can't you find another couple to do the dating
Like,
show?
these guys would be perfect.
Yeah, and I said, well, if they lived here, we would do this in a heartbeat. But the reality is, that's right. But we got Skype. We thought let's see if we can light this thing up and bring you guys in on the show. And so we want to do that. But for the rest of this first break, and I know we're running out of time already, tell us a little bit about how you guys ended up together, because this whole thing about the dating show is about relationships, and we're trying to do it God's way. And you guys, I think my wife would agree, did it the best way. And we're so excited to hear your story. So go for it.
All right.
Well, yeah, I think that is kind of the overall arching theme, is that we, in a relative world, we've made pretty good choices. We were never in gangs. I've never been a Blood. I've never been a Crip. I've never been a Backstreet Boy. So I don't know what that's like. We've stayed away from drugs and alcohol, and we've tried to live in obedience to God's word, and we definitely have experienced the payoff that comes with that. And we have this epiphany. Wow, following God, obeying Him, doing things according to His word, it actually works. And so,
And it's not always easy, but it's worth it. And I think they wanted you to tell the story about when it started.
Yeah, I was just
The
doing
romance.
youth ministry, doing youth ministry, and just kind of minding my own business. And I got a text message out of the blue from a friend of mine asking me if I'd ever consider dating someone 9 years younger. So yeah, I robbed the cradle a little bit.
So did he.
And I followed that up with another text message encouraging me to check out her website. So I went to her website. I learned a little bit about her. I found out some pretty cool things, that we had a lot of things in common. And with that being said, I just kind of moved on with my life, so to speak. I was like, well, she seems cool and stuff, but if it's meant to be, we'll just leave it in the Lord's hands.
Well, and honestly, there were some videos on my website that freaked him out a little bit because I do some kind of crazy extreme things. And so you were kind of freaked out, a little bit intrigued, but freaked out.
Yeah, intrigued, but I was just like, she's crazy, and I'm there. But then I kept hearing her name all over the place. I'd never known who this Molly girl was before that night. And now all of these circles that I travel in, people keep saying, hey, have you ever heard Molly speak before? Have you ever met Molly before? And I was just like, oh, like, no, like, why would I have ever heard of her before? And
Mr. Defensive.
He was creeping on my website. Little thing.
Stalker.
long story short is we finally, through a mutual friend, ended up getting together, and we met.
As a guy, I know we don't have time for it, but I'm just saying he's giving so many good details. So you're just going to have to check it out online for a full story. But yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, so my first impression was of her was that she was just kind of crazy. And you want to tell them your first impression of me?
Oh yeah, my first impression of him, I was out to eat with some friends at a restaurant, and I was being asked, just about my life, and I said I love speaking, I love teenagers, I love speaking to guys and girls, but I love speaking just to girls. But the problem is, there's always guys. Not that guys are a problem. I like guys, I love guys, obviously, but so I said my dream is to marry a man who loves teenagers, who's a speaker. Maybe he's, a youth pastor. I don't know. And I was describing everything that Craig is. And then one of the ladies out to lunch with me slams her hands on the table and says, "What about Craig Sanborn?" And then the other lady goes on. And then the first thing they announce about him to the whole restaurant was, after they said, "Oh, he's good looking and sweet and talented." And,
which is true.
Yeah, that is. They said, "And he's a virgin," and everyone in Old Chicago stops. So that was my first impression of him.
That's awesome. That's a great first impression.
This is like a scene out of Harry Met Sally.
It is.
I tell you. So you guys then started actually seeing each other. Now we got 2 whole minutes. Talk to us about how that process goes, because in the world, then you hook up at a party and you just get this thing going on. In your way of doing things, because you did God's way, you did it very differently.
Yeah, we just, we were very happy before we ever met. And so when we came together, it's not like Molly was trying to fill some void in my life. I was whole before I ever met Molly, and she was complete in Christ before she ever met me. And so when the Lord brought us together, things moved actually fairly quickly. One of the fun parts of our story, however, which kind of gets into what we're talking about tonight, is that I thought things were moving along in our relationship. I dropped her off at her apartment one night. I asked her if I could give her a kiss goodnight, just to let her know I was serious about pursuing this relationship. And she looked back into my eyes and said, no.
No.
Which was very humbling for me.
It was different, actually. I put my head between my legs and got really white and hot all over. And I said, "Now is not the time. Can we talk about this later?" And long story short is, I had not yet told Craig about my commitment I made when I was 17, that I was going to save my first kiss for my wedding day.
Yeah.
So oops, should have said that a little earlier. But the amazing thing is, I didn't tell him that moment. We met halfway. We lived 2 hours apart. We met the next day at a little park. I shared the whole story with him. Didn't know how he'd react. We'd only been dating 3 weeks. And he embraced it so much, and he actually pulled out of his backpack a little bag of Hershey Kisses and gave that to me. And so
he is a romantic.
He is.
So
I told her at that point that, because of her commitment, it was no longer her commitment. It becomes our commitment.
I love it.
And that's something we honored until the day we got married, and we shared our first
we
kiss.
want to hear more. We're going to go into a break real quick here. We want to hear more. You're watching The Dating Show right on Remedy Live.
Log into the clinic with Bob and Molly Thursday evenings at 6 Eastern. They'll be talking about the things that affect your everyday life, from cutting to addictions to eating disorders to whatever. They're going to tackle the issues that you deal with and encourage you with the cure. It's from Remedy Live, your positive web station destination. We chat, we listen, we love. Are you feeling like a twit? Give up a tweet at twitter.com/chat-listen-love. We'd love a tweet from our favorite twits. Don't worry, it's a good thing. It's from Remedy Live, your positive web station destination. We chat, we listen, we love.
Hey, we're Sidewalk Prophets. Why the chicken cross the road? Why? Because you're watching Remedy. Boom. Live.
We all carry burdens. Heavy, regrettable burdens. Each day, we carry them alone. Each day, we allow the heaviness to bring us down. At Remedy Live, we believe that when you live with hurt, you live with heaviness. Whether it's a choice you made, an abuse you've endured, or an experience you've stumbled into, confession cleanses your soul. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. Right now, you can begin to lighten the load and abandon your burden. Drop your confession right now at www.remedylive.com. Take the first step towards letting go and begin living your purpose with freedom and hope. Don't live in condemnation and regret anymore. Walk out of your prison cell of unconfessed pain. Visit www.remedylive.com now and drop your confession on our site. Live your life on purpose and not by accident. Brought to you by Remedy Live, your positive web station destination. We chat, we listen, we love.
All right, welcome back to the dating show. We are so pumped. We've got Craig and Molly Sanborn with us. By the way, love the t-shirts. I love Molly. I love Craig. Did you pick those up at Kohl's? Where'd you get those things?
Yeah, it's crazy. They just had them there on the rack.
Amazing.
Found them at a thrift store.
No, I made them, and my next shirt that I'm excited to make is going to say #1 on Craigslist.
Oh,
Love it.
good.
So
I absolutely like that. That's it. Well, we told you that if we wanted you on the show because Tanya and I want to get some other perspectives on the great questions that we get in from our audience. And so the question that we've got for you tonight, and it's the most popular question we get. I know you guys are speakers, and I know you guys get this question a lot too, is how do I know how far is too far? How did you, and we're going to make it be about you guys tonight, how did you guys set your physical boundaries in your dating relationship? So what do you think?
Well, that's the all-time that's a classic question, is how far is too far? And that's how we live our lives. You know, when we are cruising down the interstate, we don't see how far from the speed limit we can drive. It's how close or how far over before we get caught or before it becomes harmful. Yeah. And so, you know, I just think it's the wrong question to ask. Rather than say, how far can I go until it becomes sin or until it becomes harmful or until it becomes damaging? I think the better question is, how far from the line can I live so I don't ever have to wonder?
So good.
You know, if I said, let's play a little game and let's go head on out to Arizona to the Grand Canyon, we'll do a little sightseeing, and we get out of the vehicles and we're going to play a game as couples and say, let's see who can get as close to the edge of the Grand Canyon before you fall off and die. Well, you would say that's stupid. That's a dumb game. But that's how we play life, and we want to know how far we can push that line. And I think the question in our relationship was, you know, we know that it's God's will that we're sanctified or set apart. So how pure can we live? How much can we honor him? How set apart? And so, you know, that's how we really try to tackle that question. Is it's not how far or how much we can get away with, but how pure can we live our lives? Yeah.
A question that I always asked myself growing up, just a prerequisite. I was boy crazy since I came out of the womb. So I noticed every male and liked most of them. And so I had all those exciting feelings, and especially becoming a teenager, wondered about my first kiss and all of these things. But as I got older, I started to ask myself the question, how much do I want to save for the one person that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, the one that I'm going to give myself to? How much do I want to have that is just his? And I focused on that instead of focusing on the negative of you can't do this and this and this. I focused on I want to have a great sex life when I'm older. I don't want to have regret. I don't want to have flashbacks. I don't want to say, oh shoot, why did I do that with that guy? And so I think ultimately that's what led me probably to making the extreme commitment of saving my first kiss. And I know there's probably people watching right now that are saying that is crazy. I'm not going to do that. And Craig and I want those people to know we're not telling you to do that. We don't think that should be everybody's commitment, but we don't regret that for our relationship. When I made my commitment to not kiss, I asked myself 4 questions. Well, I asked myself to consider 4 different categories of people. And the first one was God. I just simply asked myself, what honors God? And then second, I asked myself, what will honor my future spouse? And then I asked myself, what will honor those guys that I will date that aren't going to be my husband? They're going to be someone else's husband. What do I want to take from them that they might someday say, oh shoot? And then fourth, I asked myself to think about other people, because 1 Timothy 4:12 says that young people were supposed to be an example to everyone. And so those questions helped me determine my boundaries. And it paid off. It really did. When we got married on June 27th, 2009, I wasn't up at the altar saying, shoot, why didn't I kiss that guy, and that guy?
Of course not,
So focus on the positive.
Yeah, well, the thing that I love about your story, and we've talked about it even in the first few episodes of the dating show, is that you guys didn't wait for the momentum of the relationship to make your decisions for you. You went in with a plan even before you knew each other, and then once you actually started to get to know each other, then you continued to plan out strategically what you wanted the relationship to be about. How important is it one of the items that we listed as a prerequisite in a good dating relationship is communicate, communicate, communicate. How important is it that you guys talked about those things as you started to kind of fall for each other?
Well, it's huge, and especially as we're talking about how far is too far, ultimately it's about setting boundaries and where those boundaries are going to be. And so it really didn't do me a whole lot of good for Molly to set boundaries, but then not communicate them to me. So first of all, we need to set boundaries, and then second of all, we need to communicate what those boundaries are. Because if Molly's boundaries are kissing and mine are further than that, well, she can't be upset with me if I go past them. So you need to know your boundaries, you need to communicate your boundaries, and then you have to fight to protect those boundaries by getting accountability, by bringing other people, dare I even say parents, into the mix, and get accountability with those. So knowing that, sticking to it, and fighting to protect those boundaries is monumental.
I just got an email last night actually from a girl that I answered at 2 a.m. when I should have been sleeping. And she wrote to me and said how she's in a relationship with a guy right now, and he's wanting to go farther. But what was cool about the email is she said, but because I set my boundaries before I got in the relationship, I'm actually able to stick to them. And that was a positive email. Not usually, but sometimes I get the like, oh, I went too far, what do I do? But she was a testimony to the fact of how important it is to set them ahead of time. So
that's so great. Well, and I know you guys work with so many kids that you see the aftermath of not making these decisions, and you see how the snowball of how it does start this down spiral of, when you don't draw those lines and when you don't make those commitments. So I'm sure that you're just affirmed even more in your decisions.
Just for 30 seconds here before we go to break, talk about how things get so clouded when you jump right into a physical relationship. How do hormones make everything just a mess?
Ooh. I'm passionate about that.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear you, and you're frozen right now, but I'm going to keep talking.
Okay,
hopefully
good.
You can hear us.
Good.
There are literally hormones that fire in our brain when we're physically intimate with someone, and they can start firing even as early as like a 30-second hug, and they progress the more you do physically. And they're bonding hormones, and they make you feel more attached to that person than you really are. And so it really clouds things, because if you get physically intimate with someone and you don't really know them, your brain is telling you, ooh, like them, trust them, but you might not actually have that foundation set. So it is really dangerous.
Huge. Well, that's maybe we know what we're talking about, honey, because the Sanborns are saying a lot of the things we've said.
We're going to smile because we can't hear you.
Okay, well, we'll have to fix that. We are going to come back with the Sanborns right after this break. Stick around. You're watching The Dating Show right here on Remedy Live.
How could God love someone like me?
My parents are getting a divorce.
I can't stop watching porn. Every day, just wake up.
Sometimes I cut myself. No one will miss me if I was gone.
There is hope. We're Remedy Live, an online television station here for you. We're streaming 24/7 with positive music and original programming aimed at helping you through the stuff you deal with every day. Did we mention we love music? We stream music videos from positive artists like Coldplay, Flyleaf, Lecrae, and many more. Looking for a backstage pass? Hear how bands like Switchfoot, Red, and Barlow Girl find their faith and what they want you to know.
Don't lose hope. So, I guess I would just say I dare you to move.
Looking to dig deeper in your faith? Check out how shows like Converge and The Reformatory deal with topics that will help you grow in your faith. Need to get something off your chest? Leave a confession on our site and read from others who might be going through the same thing. Everything is 100% anonymous, and your information will never be given away. Log in to see shows like The Clinic and Hurt, where we talk about what teens just like you are doing every day. Struggling with something or just need to talk to someone? Log in and chat with one of our live soul medics who are here to help you. Not near a computer? Don't worry. Simply text us at 313131 using the keyword Remedy to begin a chat conversation with one of our soul medics right now. We're Remedy Live. We chat, we listen, we love. Remedy Live is now introducing Remedy Cam, available in the App Store. Everyone is on a journey, and we want to hear about yours. Click the My Story button and take 3 minutes to tell us your story. Then make sure to click Upload. Have an opinion? We want to hear it. Click the Share It button and tell us what's on your mind, or answer a question we've posted and hit Upload. Then watch us at RemedyLive.com. You might see your submissions played for many others to view. Share your voice with people who care. Find Remedy Cam in the App Store today. Brought to you by Remedy Live. We chat, we listen, we love.
Can't talk.
We're here.
I'm so excited.
I know.
I just love the fact that the Sanborns are on by Skype.
Me too.
Oh man. And
Maybe too excited.
I'm a little too excited. Well, I'm sitting beside my hot wife. That doesn't hurt. But here's the deal. We've got just one more break. We've got tons of questions. One of the questions we get a lot is, how's the best way to ask somebody out? This question came in, I believe, from New York. What is the best way to ask a girl out, Craig?
New York. Oh, me. Oh, Craig, I mean.
I would say skywriting, but
Skywriting.
maybe not what he's looking for. I don't know.
I was reacting inside. I'm sorry, I got excited there. This is frustrating to me because I have past experiences of, I think guys were trying to ask me out, but they were so not clear about it. And my biggest pet peeve, which fortunately I don't have to deal with anymore because no guy is going to be asking me out, and if they do, I'm married. So, but hey, do you want to hang out? That's what I got all the time. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, are we buddies? Are we friends? The guys that I really admire and give kudos to are the ones who just go for it and declare their intentions and say, you know what, I'm really interested in you. I think you're a great girl. I'd like to get to know you. Can I have the pleasure of taking you out on a date? Mm-hmm. Every girl is going to like that.
That's
don't
so
you
well
think?
said.
That is
Absolutely. You're
good.
so honored in that moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've paid your father to make sure that this is okay with him. Okay, well let's go to a really serious question. Just last show, actually the last two shows, we unpacked the whole I love you thing. Now, the question is this: how long would you advise people to wait to say I love you in a dating relationship?
Oh, I like this question because it brings back memories. Craig said I love you to me on June 18th, 2008, and it was exactly 2 months after the day that we met. So now I know there's a bunch of teenagers saying, okay, good, 2 months, 2 months, 2 months. No. For us, we were quite a bit older.
Right.
We were ready to get married. But the exciting thing about that moment for me, which was actually on top of a lifeguard shack in the middle of Iowa at a camp that I was speaking at for the week, and Craig came along with me. That's when he told me.
Am I romantic or what?
It was
That is
full
romantic.
moon. It was awesome. I couldn't really see him because, like, anyways, whatever. I could hear him though, and I was able to say I love you back for the first time ever to a man besides my dad and my grandpa and my brothers, of course. But I was 26 years old when I got to say my first I love you. Not that I didn't have opportunities, but those are powerful words.
They are.
And I am so glad that I didn't waste them on other people, because I think the more you say it and the earlier you say it, the less meaning and power it has.
Yeah.
So I guess I would say delay it as long as possible and really know what you're saying. I have a really good friend who had decided a long time ago that he wasn't going to say I love you until he was ready to marry the girl. And so this guy said I love you to my roommate, and then he got down on his knee and he proposed, and I think that's beautiful.
Wow,
That
that
is.
is good.
I would just add, as Molly said, they are powerful words. And contrary to John 3:16, 1 John 3:16, tells us what love is when you're willing to lay down your life for a friend. And so because of that, I guess I'd pose that question to the individual. When's it okay to say I love you, or when should you? Are you ready to lay down your life? Are you ready to lay down and sacrifice for that person But not only are you ready to, but are you able to?
Yeah.
Can you logistically do that and sacrifice for another person? At age 14, you probably can't do that because you've got more time to grow. You're getting through school. You've got so many other things. So what is love? It's when you lay down your life for someone else. And if you're not able to say that or do that, I'd really protect those words.
Ooh, speaking of what is love, I'm so glad you asked. We have a great definition, not we, but the Bible in 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. The first word is love is patient.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important for us to remember that in any relationship, whether it's setting boundaries or waiting to say I love you or waiting to hear I love you, love is patient. And maybe don't say I love you until you really feel like you have a grasp on what love is.
Yeah. Well, again, we're so grateful for the fact that you two, each and every day, as part of your ministry to, first of all, to God, but then secondly to teenagers, is to talk about these issues, because we've learned, sadly, here at Remedy, that relational advice is hard to come by that's rooted in biblical, thinking. And so we're so grateful for you. We're so grateful for the fact that you have a speaking ministry. We want you to talk about that, talk about your website, talk about what you do for a living. And we've got, I think, a slide that we can pop up on the screen that references both your website and your Twitter. But talk about your ministry, because it's such an important thing.
Well, one of the cool things about our story is, well, sadly, it is rare, like you're saying. But the cool thing is that I hope that through our example and through our story, students especially will realize it can be done.
Yeah.
When Molly speaks in public schools, she has girls just weeping, saying, "Thank you for telling me I didn't have to have sex, or I don't have to do these things." And it's not getting said enough that you don't have to do these things. And we're here to say, we did it. It can't be done. Yes. Now, you can't have our story, but God will write a story for you that is as good, if not better, if you're willing to be patient. And so if you'd like to learn more or read some more about our story and how God has been the center of our relationship, you can go to craigandmolly.com. You'll see pictures and videos and all kinds of fun stuff. And what I think is cool is Molly's got some journal entries that she has written on there from even before we met, just between her and God, which are pretty special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of bare my soul for the world to see, because I want to encourage people that I think the thing that really made our relationship work and what's going to keep working, the reason it's going to keep working is because Christ is the center. And so in every relationship that Craig and I ever had before we met each other, our goal was to take it to God first, to ask him for advice, to apply Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. And he did that for us, and we're so glad. So we'd love to keep in touch with you. Any teens out there, anybody, any age, but we love teenagers. You can send us a message via our site, find us on Facebook or Twitter, and we will get back to you. That's what we do.
That's awesome.
That's so great.
Well, again, pumped that you guys joined us tonight, and I'm going to try to work out a long-term deal where we can do this on a regular basis. You're going to want to make sure to join us again next week. We got some news about a contest we're going to do for the whole Valentine's Day thing. There's a lot of dating drama that goes on around that we want to make sure that we talk about and expose. Again, guys, thanks for joining us all the way from sunny Minnesota.
Yeah, it was.
And thanks for you watching the show. You've been watching the dating show right here on Remedy Live.